Oh, hi. I don't know if you can hear that noise or not. I don't know if you can hear that noise or not. I think my mic is working, but I have no clue if it is or not. I woke up today and my foot, well, last night my foot was hurting and it kind of affected my sleep. And then I caught myself trying to make it better by like squeezing it a little bit and it made it worse. So now my feet are in this home, the little foot tub with the bubbles and the spikes and balls or whatever. Now my feet are in that. And I was just gonna do it. But I was like, oh, like I can put it up on the table and I can go live and I can show people that like Saturn has a new home. Um, and I used to do these, I called them weekly releases, but they weren't weekly. Every now and then I used to do this where I would, sorry, my foot is like, um, where I would soak my feet and then I'd pull cards. And when I was in my meditation class, they talked about, what do they call them? What was it called? I feel like there was a more formal term for it, but like a foot soak meditation. Um, and like you would salt the water and it would help you with catches. And catches are basically things that build up in the energetic body just by living like day to day life. Things that can linger from day to day in like our emotional body, like mental fog that can build up, or any kind of something that would cause disclarity, if disclarity is a word. And so the foot soaking meditation would be a mindful way to like let it all go. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, like, let me do that like with y'all and see what we need to release this week. And I called it a weekly release for like the 1 week that I did it for that first week. Um, but I would use the Spencer's tarot cards. So that's what I'm using today. And we're just going to see what's up. Um, I know they have a centaur in here, and we just had the Sagittarius full moon. So I'm going to pull, we're going to see what's before and after. Maybe I'll go 2 out. Before, after, and after. I guess before, the centaur, after, to see what's up. I've been noticing, it's been so interesting. Um, y'all know I like to, for some reason, like, I like, I, I don't talk to a lot of people necessarily, but if I notice themes that come up, sometimes I'll notice things that come up in my personal life, within my like family, friends, and then like extended outside of that. And then I'll go, oh, like, this is an experience that people seem to be having collectively. Um, and I'll like mention it, I'll talk about it. Now, for some reason, yesterday, it felt like it was related to Pluto moving back into Capricorn for the last time. Like these past few, and I think I said it, I don't remember fully what I said before or what I was feeling before. Um, but it's like on this last trip into Capricorn, it's now building the foundation for what we now know. There that thing is. I was looking for something and I only ever see it when I don't need it. And then I just like I glanced at it. And every time I'm like, I know it's in here somewhere. And it's right there. Maybe I should move it to somewhere where I can see it. Anyway. Um like this time we've gotten a glimpse or a taste of what the new Aquarian immediate Plutonian future is. An immediate Plutonian because it's going to be in Aquarius for like 20 years. So, like, yeah, it's the immediate future, but it's such a long span of time that the end of that immediate future 20 years from now is for a lot of people probably at least fairly distant. But in the immediate Plutonian future, maybe there's a new vision or there's a new way that we want to operate towards going somewhere. And this final trip into Capricorn is establishing the foundation to support that. In the past few trips into Capricorn, like maybe the first time Pluto dipped into Aquarius, we experienced some things and it was like, more of that. Like I'm not necessarily there, but I would love to be. And then it retrograded into Capricorn. And maybe that was an opportunity to like almost like if when Pluto was in Aquarius, it was like a dream. And then when Pluto went back into Capricorn, we wake up from the dream and either we remember it or we don't remember it. Either we wake up feeling inspired or we don't wake up feeling expired. And then either we act on those feelings and remembrances or we don't. Right. And so maybe that first and second retrograde, maybe the first retrograde back into Capricorn was like waking up and experiencing reality. Maybe like when Pluto was in Capricorn, things were good for a minute, and then it's like, oh, I guess back to reality. And then Pluto went back into Aquarius, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, no, I think this could really be my life. And then when Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn, that's when we made adjustments to potentially, that's when we potentially made adjustments to our daily lives. Um, or maybe that's when we started to implement changes that would lead us to whatever that Aquarian dream felt like while Pluto was in Aquarius. And now in this final retrograde into Capricorn again, it's about setting up the foundation for what's to come. Um, so, all of our timings are different. So it's entirely possible for someone to, and it's like not only are all of our timings different, but we're also all different types of people. Um, so some of us may be able to simultaneously not destroy, demolish, uh, to demo one foundation while simultaneously building another, meaning that there may be some of both in our lives for whoever that applies. Or maybe it'll be like first the demo and then the building. Maybe it'll be like a pre shadow, retrograde, post shadow type thing. Or maybe we've done the demoing in the past. And again, like the building on that foundation, like the changes to our daily lives to make that Aquarian dream even more of a reality is like now. Whew. Hello, Ray of Thought 24. I'm farsighted, but if I get too far, then the text gets too small. But yeah, I just had that feeling. I was like, wow, it's like, even in like that Gemini season and the Sagittarius full moon reading, it's almost like that navigating. Um, oh, my foot. It's almost like that navigating this change that may be testing or challenging in some ways. But it's almost like I feel like for the most part, nothing of late, or very few things of late, if there have been any, have come out feeling like true and genuine tests. And like, there's a difference between something being testing and something being a test. Um, it may be testing because it's time for us to, it's almost like we've already passed the test. We're already licensed, we're already certified, but now it's time for us to practice. Like you are a licensed professional, you are accredited by whatever accreditation bureau or board or council. But now, like, you go into real life and you start working and you start practicing, and you find out that sometimes real life and school, or what you were taught in school, or the learning of the information is like different, because real life isn't necessarily perfect. There are things that, um, and this goes back to the logic that the Archmage of the King of Swords challenge was talking about. Um, but there are some things that we can't be made pre-aware of in life. Or there are some things of life that we can't be made pre-aware of in the learning, but education can teach us how to approach problems, and it can teach us how to think. It can teach us logic. And so when real life happens, we can apply that logic to reach a favorable outcome, even if we didn't encounter that specific problem in a test or in a chapter or when we were learning. Right? It teaches us the approach. And again, very like Sagittarius, Gemini, teaching, learning, applying, higher education, higher levels of thinking. It makes sense. So that's that. Um, Now I guess I'm gonna pull. Oh, look, the Two of Cups is at the bottom. It's the unicorn. Remember the unicorns, the Two of Michael, but now there's a person on the unicorn. What? Cutting to the Ace of Pentacles. What? The Mandragora. The Mandragora is a living plant. Some would say it's more fauna than flora. Um, but we saw that Ace of Pentacles at the end. It was the final card in one of the decks yesterday. And it was the pentacle spinning that produced that like wind. So anyway, I'm gonna give this two more of these, and then I will look from the bottom of the deck. And I know it's the Centaur. I don't think it's Temperance. I don't remember which card it's on. I'm pretty sure it's a Major Arcana, but I'm gonna pull the two cards before and the two cards after, and we're gonna look at that as the center for what we need to release, what would be beneficial for us to release, I guess, or I don't know, because that's what these used to be, right? A weekly release. Ooh, the Ten of Wands, Dragon at the bottom of the deck, the Dragon and Judgment, and then the Giant Well. Ten of Wands, Judgment, Cerberus, Ace of Cups, the bottom three cards. Interesting. And then the King of Swords Viking is after that. Now that is a sword that can slay a dragon. Oh, it's a sword that is wet with blood. CD. It's even stained the snow. What's interesting is there's no like there's only blood on the sword and blood on the snow. Like there's no blood on this Viking, which may be indicative of how the sword was used. Because I feel like if the sword was used to slash, that would be more like splash. From what I've seen in the fictional, made up, whatever, fictional fluid dynamics, I guess. If there was like a slash, then it would like spray. But if it was used to pierce, then maybe not as much. And, you know, I'm going to say it pierced the heart of the dragon, or it pierced some vital organ of the dragon, because I'm assuming this, you know, Viking didn't just go around poking the dragon until it was slain. Um, actually, one of the Hobbit movies, it plays on TNT, it seems like frequently, because I've seen the part where I think it was an elf, it could have been a dwarf, I don't know. It was the end of the movie where Smaug, where they kill Smaug. And like the only part of that movie I've seen is like the end of it where they like he's up in a watchtower or whatever, and Smaug is like burning the city down, and then his son comes up and gives him something that he's like, and then the son has to be brave so that he can do whatever, and that part. But it pierces right to the heart of an issue, or it pierces a vital organ. Now, because this dragon is a Ten of Wands, and it's, I guess, I don't even know if this is a villainy dragon, honestly, because it's just like a dragon that's in the mountains or whatever. Like it's not terrorizing some kind of city. But I guess it makes me think of slay your dragons, follow your bliss, which is a saying that one of my high school teachers used to say. And then judgment, Cerberus, and the giant whale. It feels like Cerberus and the giant whale are almost one and the same. Um, and it's like it's the face that we get. Uh, so it's like we are the child and it is the parent. Is it the punishing parent or is it the loving parent? Right? Or it's like does something go in our favor or does it not go in our favor type energy. Like these feel like very similar energies, but it's just our experience like with it. Anyway, I think too there can be a message here. I'm almost hearing my journey buddy in my head. Um, I think too there's almost a message of when it comes time to go one separate ways, it can be done in a number of ways. Maybe this is about the approach that we take when we free ourselves of something that we've been burdened by, or when we free ourselves of something that has become a burden, when we free ourselves of something of those like the every time Pluto's retrograded back into Capricorn, and it's been like an evaluation and reevaluation of like, is this the direction that I want my life to go in? Like, is this what I want for my life? And maybe this is one of those like I no longer like my path is leading me elsewhere. My time here is done. And then it's like, how do we like breach that with others? Okay, I'm gonna keep these. Now we are looking for the centaur because I know that there's one in here, but I don't remember what the card is. Temperance is the sea nymph, so it is not temperance in this deck. Ooh, my nose. It's the chariot. Of course, it's the chariot. So the two cards that came before, it's the Nine of Swords Basilisk and the Nine of Pentacles Frankenstein. Nine of Swords, Nine of Pentacles. Interesting. Let's see. No problem. Glad to be able to share and to contribute something. I guess. So here's that gosh darn page of cups. I see I'm seeing the page of cups. I feel like in every deck I use, and I don't know if I ever necessarily fully give it the attention that it is asking for, because it's like, you are persistent. Why? So Basilisk and Frankenstein. The Chariot is the Centaur. And then the Two of Swords and the Tower are the two cards after. The Ghost and the Gargoyle. The Ace of Swords, Quetzalcoatl, is on the other side of this. This Quetzalcoatl, I should have kept that King of Swords, but it's like literally right here. I'm gonna pull him out too because he was integral. Um, because this Viking has this Ace of Swords energy. I mean, it's a King of Swords, but because he has the one sword, Quetzalcoatl is a winged serpent. The dragon is a winged serpent with legs. And then the Seven of Swords cannibal is behind this Ace of Swords. Seven of Swords, Ace of Swords, which is an Eight of Swords. But it's almost like, if we don't look at this, it's almost like if we look at this in a way of Quetzalcoatl is a more ancient, primordial, or progenitorial energy to the dragon. Like, let's say that dragons evolved legs, like the opposite of a snake. Instead of like the snake losing its legs, let's say the snake gained a pair of legs and became an alligator. I don't know. I don't know. But it's almost like, since the King of Swords has dealt with this primordial, precursorial, progenitorial energy, that's what allows him to even identify or know what the weakness of this dragon is, to know where that vital organ is. Like, this is wisdom gained from a previous experience. And again, almost like what I was talking about, how in the education, specific situations may not be covered on the test, but it's also the purpose of education. So I got my degree I got an engineering degree. And I noticed that it seemed like freshman year and sophomore year was a lot of memorization and testing, but junior year, like year 3 out of 4, is when and it's like nobody necessarily said anything, but that's when it seems like things flipped from like testing for our retention of information and testing for our ability to solve problems that we aren't necessarily equipped to solve. Um, so, like in year 1 and 2, it was a lot of like, whenever we learn something new, assume this is possible, assume that you're in an ideal situation, assume that you're in a perfect world. This is the equation that you would use to do whatever, right? And then junior year, it was like, here's the problem, like find the solution. And so you would like, it would be like a word problem type thing. And so you could like, you do all the equations and you may get it wrong. And it's like, well, why did I get it wrong? And it's like, the reason why we may have gotten it wrong is because we're still assuming an ideal situation. But if we look at the problem that's being presented, we're presented with information that makes it the non-ideal case. Like, the ideal situation doesn't apply. because this force that is treated as negligible or absent in the ideal situation is present and it's significant. So if we use the ideal equation in a non-ideal system, it's going to give us, it's like with the degree of non-ideality, if that's a word, uh, if the higher the degree of non-ideality, the greater the potential difference between the actual answer and the answer that the ideal equations will provide. So, like, that's my context. That's my background context. That helps me see this in that way. Um, and again, like the King of Swords came out yesterday, the Deck Dungeon Challenge, um, and it was about logic. It tested our logic and integrity. And that was the thing yesterday. It's like it's not testing our intelligence. It's not testing the information that we have retained. It's testing our logic. How do we get from one point to another? It's testing our perspective and our ability to use the lessons that we've learned, the information that we've gained in our life experience to arrive at a decently reasonable conclusion. And so, like, again, the point is, like, Quetzalcoatl and the dragon are very different. They're different creatures, but anatomically, they have similarities. And this King of Swords, almost like with the wisdom gained and the knowledge from facing the Quetzalcoatl before. The Quetzalcoatl was probably lots of slashes and lots of, like, this wasn't easy. This is how the Viking became the King of Swords. Maybe the Viking was like a baby when Quetzalcoatl first showed up, and then it was a young person, and then a knight, and then an adult, and then one day the Viking tackled the Quetzalcoatl and was celebrated for it, became the king. But now, again, because of this, he's able to extrapolate. He's able to make logical inferences between this foe and this one to the point where, like, one fell piercing strike straight to the vital organ takes down the dragon. Like, that's the vibe, that's the feeling, that's the energy. So it isn't, I've done this exact thing before, but it is like, okay, using the information that I have, being present with the situation, engaging my senses, taking stock of the situation, like, what tools do I have at my disposal to help me overcome this or to help me tackle this type of energy? And he does it flawlessly. And because I'm pulling before and after the centaur, and the centaur is typically, sometimes, I feel like usually, more often than not, when I see a centaur, um, it's an archer. It's like that same energy. Like, you can shoot somebody with a billion arrows, or if you know, like, their vital points, you can shoot them with one, and it does the job. It's just like something about accuracy. I guess I didn't necessarily, well, using the tarot, the Spencer's tarot, where there are all of these. Um, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that it's communicated so, not necessarily. Yeah, it's communicated so violently, because even the Seven of Swords is the cannibal, but it's like the giant. That's the one thing. Like, they call the Seven of Swords the cannibal in this deck, but I'm like, that's the giant, and that's Jack. Jack climbed the beanstalk to steal, literally steal from the giant. And the giant was just supposed to let him, like, hello, girl, we're up here for a reason, okay? Our ancestors lived with humanity. They know better, or they found out, and now we know better. And now you're going to come up here and steal. The cannibal, Hanuman, Mandragora, and the Tooth Fairy. So under the giant, I'll just say the giant, Seven of Swords, the giant, is Hanuman. Under Hanuman is the Mandragora, that Ace of Pentacles again, more fauna than flora. And then under that is the star, which is the Tooth Fairy. And we've been seeing the star a lot. That's why I pulled it. I guess if we If we take Jack and the Beanstalk to be a metaphor, because I am, the Seven of Swords would be an energy of shortcuts. It's almost like it's not the fact that Jack had landed in the land of the giants. And maybe it's not even the fact that he like literally tried to steal from them to make his life on earth better. Um, Maybe it's the beanstalk. And the beanstalk was like an artificial way for someone on the ground to access the heavens. And maybe the natural way is for someone to like grow in magnitude or size. Like there's a proper way to get to the land of the giants, and then there is an improper way. And because the beanstalk does all the work and Jack only has to climb it, it becomes almost like a purely physical and maybe some could say mental exercise because like stamina, endurance, I don't know the fitness level of Jack. Um, I don't know how many stops he had to make, but it's like it becomes purely physical and symptoms of a stress and duress physical instead of it being a more well-rounded all-around approach to growth, like instead of it being physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, where we grow in every way, it's like we grow in one singular way. And because he grew in that one singular way, there was something about what the Giants had that he wasn't able to appreciate. Like he saw the value in it, obviously, because if he didn't, he wouldn't have stolen it. Uh, but it's like he didn't have an appreciation for it. And it's like, if he had taken a more natural approach, that appreciation would have grown to the point where he wouldn't have had to steal anything. Anyway, back to like the actual cards. The Basilisk and Frankenstein, these two together read to me as the Basilisk atrophies and Frankenstein stitches together. So this is almost like cutting away at rotten pieces. So like we cut away at rot, we cut away at rot, we cut away at what is decaying and causing disease. But then maybe we reach the point where we realize there's not enough left for something to be viable and functional. And so that's when the Frankenstein comes in. Then we Frankenstein things together. But in my mind, it's like, again, like the atrophying is something like turning into stone. I guess there's a part of my brain that, or my mind's eye, that envisions it as um, putting stone pieces together. So it's like it assembles. Oh, I guess yeah. Somebody was saying something. I think I heard something yesterday, and for some reason, made me think of Pygmalion. Uh, but it's like someone assembles a stone creature. Maybe someone wanders into the stone garden of Medusa after Perseus beheads Medusa and takes her head to do whatever to save Andromeda from the Kraken or whatever. And so they wander into Medusa's stone garden with no guardian. And maybe they see many statues of people, and maybe like they admire the beauty of each individual statue, but once they see so many they go, like the perfect specimen of a human would be the head from that one, the shoulders from that one, the left foot from that one with the right foot from that one. And then it's like it sees all of these things and all of these different stone statues, and since they're stone, they just like break them apart, and then they assemble together the perfect person from the remains of the victims of Medusa. And then somehow they Pygmalion Frankenstein the stone to life. And then we have the centaur, which is the chariot, which is interesting because the chariot has been popping out a lot. Oh my gosh. My foot is feeling a little better, but it's almost like, I guess it almost feels like if I like, you know how you can like do that to your feet? Like if I did that too long and it just like made the muscle sore or something. I don't know. And then in my sleep, I was trying to like flex it so it would like soothe it, but it was not helping. And then I squeezed it and made it worse. And but now we're here. All things led to this. So, maybe there'll be something of value in here for somebody. So the ghost and the gargoyle coming after this is interesting. Because like I'm thinking of Frankenstein and I'm thinking of Frankenstein's monster. And I guess there's a question. Like the ghost after this stone statue, Frankenstein come to life. There's actually, I'm going to pull before and after the Six of Wands. I don't think I've seen it because it's the golem or it's the golem. And it's making me think of this. It's the question of the soul or the spirit that inhabits the stone. That's where I'm like, oh. Oh, look, there's the Kraken that we were just talking about. The Kraken is the Nine of Cups. It's in between the Fortune Teller and the Chimera, the High Priestess and the Five of Wands. That is the Kraken that Perseus turned into stone to save Andromeda. Okay, I guess I did see it. I mean, I wasn't looking for it, so. Oh wait, I looked through the wrong half of the deck. No, these are the cards I've seen. Yeah, these are the ones I've seen. It actually came out. There it is. It's in between the Five of Swords and the Three of Pentacles, the dwarf and the angel. There's a golem. So this stone chimeric creature, there's also a chimera, I'm pretty sure. And I'm not gonna go looking for it. There's a manticore. I don't know if there's a chimera. It's fine. Because like this is an assembling of all the parts. But again, it's that question of what is the spirit or soul that animates this thing? And so that's why I looked before and after the golem, because I guess golems don't have anything besides what their creators create for them to have. I don't know. And it's the angel and the dwarf. This is interesting. This is not what I expected. So the way that it came to my mind, or the way that the story came to my mind, made it seem like a not great thing. But the Nine of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles, this is almost quite literally the story of the multiple encounters with the Quetzalcoatl that the Viking had before he became the King of Swords. So that by the time the King of Swords Viking faced the dragon, it took only one quick pierce to the whatever vital organ to take down that dragon. This is literally like we are the sum of our experiences, good and bad. And maybe they're like, maybe the stone garden of Medusa is like past versions of the self, or it's past lives that we can have within the same incarnation. Like this one summer, I did this. And so now I have this set of knowledge, information, or whatever. And then I worked as that for a minute and I had a friend who does this. And it's like if we were to watch our own life as a movie or read it as a book, then there will be things that we can take from different chapters or from different pieces of the movie, different episodes of the series that is our life. And there is something, it's almost like I feel like Grey's Anatomy does it. I don't watch Grey's Anatomy, but I feel like from what I've seen on the internet about Grey's Anatomy, or it's like One Piece, or any show that's like long running. And when there's something that happens that has ties to previous, like the last time we saw this character or whatever, it's like the flashback, or it's like it considers that. And so it's almost like if you don't know what the new episode is going to bring because it's airing live and you're not, I mean, I guess if you haven't seen it before, then you wouldn't know. So you're watching a new episode. You don't know necessarily what's going to happen. And let's say that, like, all of a sudden the episode starts with a flashback to whatever time ago. And then you're like, what? Like, and maybe it's one of your favorite characters. I don't know. And in the flashback, they like show that character, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, are they going to come back? Why are they showing this character? Type of energy, you know what I mean? Because when I look at the angel and the dwarf clarifying the golem, it's a dwarf because, oh my gosh, look, there's a stone head under the foot. Well, maybe that's like an orc and not stone, but under the foot of the dwarf. Maybe it's the head of the golem. I don't know. Anyway, it's like it's the angel. The spirit of the angel is what comes in, and it's the dwarf on the other side because like angel soul and a little itty bitty vessel of a body, right? Like the cannibal, the giant, the spirit of the giant in the body of a man. That's how you get. Maybe that's superpowers has been a thing lately. So maybe that's the source of someone's like super strength because they have the strength of a giant. It's just crammed into like a little person's body. Now, if maybe among giants, they're not even the strongest, they could be the weakest giant, but the weakest giant is a multitude of multiplicities, more time, more. It's a multitude of multiplicities times more strong or powerful or whatever than the strongest man. So it actually like wasn't a bad thing. I was like, what's all this like rot and decay and like Frankenstein and stone statues together to Pygmalion, the perfect whoever. But I guess we would be the better, perfect version of ourselves. If I can take my patience that I learned from babysitting, mix it with the ingenuity that I got from running a lemonade stand, mixed with the whatever. Like, if I can bring all of these parts of myself to the forefront, I could truly shine. And I feel like maybe it's that. Like, the clarification is making it seem like that. Like, that's the angel that is almost like crammed into the little itty bitty whatever. And like this centaur is not an archer. Again, most centaurs I see are like archers. They're either archers or they might have like the lances or like long pokey sticks. But this one, like, that's a fairly short sword and a shield. Like, this is a centaur that likes to get in there and be in on the action. This is not your at a distance centaur. That's your Gemini Sagittarius. That's your Sagittarius that plays very, very, very well into their Gemini oppositions. Because Sagittarius alone could be the archer, it could be sage-y, not necessarily hermity, but like sagey. A Sagittarian intellect or a Sagittarian way of being sometimes can put it in the Sagittarius's own mind, but both in terms of the dedication that they devote, the dedication that they put into learning, mastering whatever they learn or master, it puts them way outside of the realm of the common layperson. And Gemini is that like more communal, not like people, but it's more communal. Gemini is able to engage someone where they are, but it's almost like pure Sagittarian is so like specialized in whatever they're specialized in that they may have difficulty like finding lay words to communicate their complex thoughts, you know. But because again, because this is the centaur that gets like this is a close combat centaur, that's a very Sagittarian. Like that's the person who, even though they are the top of their field, they could like break it down, explain it to like a kindergartner, you know. Now this part, for some reason, this is feeling like a cicada. Sorry. Um, like this is the body that's built for whatever. And it's the Nine of Pentacles. So it brings someone stability. Like someone being able to pull on the lessons that they've learned, utilize all of the tools in their toolkit and play to their strengths without covering up their weaknesses, but accommodating their weaknesses somehow. Um, like that's the Nine of Pentacles energy, the self-sufficient energy of that Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Swords of the Basilisk is the challenges. So I picked like, you know, even with good things, sometimes there are challenges. Um, but with the Two of Swords in the Tower, with the Ghost and the Gargoyle, this is the spirit of the person leaving whatever this like Frankenstein Nine of Pentacles was. It's like when a snake sheds its skin, or an insect sheds its exoskeleton, or a hermit crab gets a new shell, or whatever. Like, this is the shell that's left, but the spirit of the person goes on. And the shell itself is a deterrent to bad vibes. Whatever the gargoyles like ward off, the shell does the job of like warding it off. But the spirit moves on. So this is interesting. So I guess what's to release, it's almost this like forget everything that you know, or forget everything that you think you may know type energy. And this is very much so, I can see this as like the Queen of Swords. I kind of read this as the Queen of Swords in reverse, or the shadow of the Queen of Swords, um, where sometimes the shadow of the Queen of Swords can overly uh, can rely on past experiences and needing to be strong in past experiences too much. Like the Queen of Swords, and I guess you could say like the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords is literally here in the angel. Um, but it can border on hyper vigilance. where it's like, oh, I know this type of person, they always whatever, but that's like not the person that they're engaged with. And that's why it's almost like forget everything that you know. And maybe that's like the gargoyle or the exoskeleton remaining behind. It's like if you need it, it will always be there. And that the presence of it will be the deterrent to experiences that you don't want to have again, or people, the types of people or jobs or whatever that you don't want to have again, the types of situations that you don't want to find yourselves in. Like those things will always be in your toolkit or in your tool on your tool belt waist thing. You can always pull it out when you need it, but to go into the world with that already in your hand is to almost manufacture. It's not necessarily to manufacture a problem, but to go into the world with those tools already in your hands, ready to use, is to almost be looking for the loose nut that needs to, or the loose bolt that needs to be tightened, or the nail that's sticking out of the board, or whatever. It's like it'll be there when you need it, but like it's time to leave that part. And again, going back to the Viking King of Swords, maybe that's what happened to the King of Swords. Maybe his kingdom is thriving after the Quetzalcoatl had been defeated. And one day this random dragon pops up, and the King of Swords is like, oh, I know exactly what to do for you. Okay. I'm gonna go grab that sword right there. You almighty whatever dragon, you with your impervious scales. I bet you think you're about to come in here and wreck some stuff. Well, I got something for you. And of course, the dragon is this dragon. The dragon doesn't think a Viking of all creatures, like a Viking can't even cast a spell. Maybe if you could imprison me or whatever, like Merlin the wizard, then you would have a chance. But sword, nothing made by man can pierce the scales of the dragon. And then, like, oop, it happens, you know? Smog goes down. It's like, whoa, oh my gosh. But the point is, like, that information is there if something is to arise. And so, like, you don't necessarily have to go looking for it. And this is almost like the natural way into the land of the giants. Because this is the spirit leaving the body. So this is something becoming angelic or going to wherever angels live. Like leaving one version of experiencing life and entering another. And in in the promised land, there is no need for a lot of the things that we've picked up to survive and thrive. Like there's no need for it over there because we won't encounter it. And again, in the odd chance that we do, if there is a random dragon that tries to blow through town acting like it owns something or it's gonna pillage something, like you already know what to do. And it's just one quick thrust of a sword. That's it. You don't even get dirty. Like there is not a drop of blood on this Viking dude. No sign of a struggle at all. Maybe he is looking a little smug. Like maybe the shadow of the Viking takes some kind of pleasure in humbling a dragon that thinks it's about to come and do something. Maybe that's the smirk of it protecting its peace and its people and all of the things that it's cultivated. Maybe that's the a recognition or a validation affirmation and the value of the challenging, difficult things that that king has gone through. It's because I went through that that now I can handle this with ease. And I can keep on track and keep going where I'm going. Maybe it's a bit of both of these. I don't know. So this is the King of Swords. This is the past of the King of Swords. So I guess I should put this here because this is the past. And then this is the future. But yeah, this is like one of those natural ways to reach the land of the giants. And maybe that's why the Page of Cups Satyr is here as the welcomer. It's like the fanfare that plays whenever someone enters the royal court. Now introducing Sir whoever of wherever, title, epithet. Is that the word? Maybe it's that. And this, I don't know, it's because of the grapes and the foliage. Also, the grapes is heavy Nine of Pentacles energy, or just like great Pentacles energy. You see it on, I think, the King of Pentacles too, but also on the Nine of Pentacles. But maybe this is like the forest that matures. There was that one card, like this path wasn't in the, like, you've crossed this point several times in this forest. Like it wasn't here 4 days ago, but now all of a sudden there's like this new clearing or this new opening. Maybe this, I know I've said it hasn't felt like, it doesn't necessarily feel like what had come up previously didn't know. This is the Keeper of Karnak. That's what this is. Okay. I was gonna say, I know, like I've literally just said things haven't been feeling testy, but like this is the clearing, right? I was like, this dragon is just like in the mountains, like minding its own business. But then there's the energy of like that clearing in the forest. Maybe this dragon is the guardian of that sacred space. And it requires for us to, again, be our best self. And it is what it is. It requires us to be our better self. I'll say that. I don't think it necessarily requires us to be the very best version of ourselves that we could be, but I think it would require a lot from us to embody, to become the embodiment of the amalgamations of the tests and trials and tribulations and lessons and healings and all of that. To be our better self in many facets and ways. To slay that dragon and then to find even brighter bliss. And then it's like, don't worry about the dragon. Maybe the dragon itself is a golem. Or maybe the dragon is another form of, it feels like no dragons are ultimately harmed in the making of this journey. The Quetzalcoatl's, I don't know, because that's pretty clear. But maybe even the Quetzalcoatl's weren't harmed in the making of this journey. It's like maybe the King of Swords, maybe the Viking thinks that he slays the dragon with one fell piercing attack. Again, it pierces right to the heart of something. It's not slashing, it's not hacking, it's not cutting away at something. It gets right to the point, which is very Sagittarian. And it's very Sagittarian. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like Gemini. I feel like Gemini would have the capability, but wouldn't necessarily have the capacity to stop. Like Gemini to me reads like poke, 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 poke. Like, oh my gosh, Gemini, you can stop. And Sagittarius is just like, bloop, and I'm going to continue with my day. Not to say that Sagittarius can't, whatever, but you get, but it's like after the dragon is slain, it fades into mist because it was an illusion, or the dragon reappears healthy and it's like, congratulations, like welcome to the grove. I don't know, wherever this pan like satyr is chilling. You can leave your weapons at the door, like leave your sword at the door. And if you ever need it, it will magically, mystically appear out of thin air within your hand. But when you don't need it, like let it chill, bro. Like, you know. So cool. I guess it's like a congratulations, well done. Like, you know, yes, there are things that we can encounter in real life that we can feel school didn't prepare us for, or our education didn't prepare us for. Like, nobody told me that this was going to happen if I chose this path, or I didn't know that, blah, 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 whatever. Not to be blah, 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 whatever in a dismissive way, but blah, 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 whatever in an inclusive way, in a way that I wouldn't even think to know. But it's like maybe like you weren't prepared for this specific exact happening, but you were given all of the tools that you need to properly assess the situation and reach a conclusion that will be beneficial for all parties involved, right? Because maybe for all parties involved. So there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Boop, 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 boop. Oh my gosh, my foot is feeling a little better. A little bit. I still feel like I should just like squeeze it and massage it. But I guess if I don't know the pressure points, if I don't know what I'm doing, then I can make it worse. And obviously, I don't know what I'm doing because I did make it worse. All right, an hour. That's not too bad. I'm gonna get a final card and I'm gonna end this. Thank you, Ray of Thoughts 24, for being here, spending time with me. And did that come out? We did see Strength recently. I don't know what deck it was in. I think it was in the Archangel Power cards. I don't. It was in the Archangel Power cards. I don't remember which angel it was. Was that Ariel? It might have been Ariel. I don't remember. But there is like a strength like energy. And the last strength card that we saw, like there was no tension at all. Like the angel lady was chilling and the lion was chilling. It was like an easy day. The lion was just being a big cat, you know. All right. We're gonna get a final card. Final card. Final card. Please. Oh, that was immediate. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Pentacles zombie. This zombie is giving me Kali Ma energy, low key. If you know why, you know why. Like it's not significant or not significant. It's pretty like pictorially, it's giving me Kali Ma energy. But because it's a zombie, maybe it's like she's able to pop out from the grave if she needs to. Oh, snap. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. This might be a word. Is it a word to the wise or a word of the wise? I feel like it's a word to the wise. But if it's a word to the wise, maybe it's because I feel like it's a word of wisdom. So I'm like, wouldn't it be a word from the wise or a word of the wise? Like a wise person would be saying this, but maybe it's a word to the wise because only the wise will heed that warning, right? Because maybe it's something that a fool would hear and go, maybe it'd be like that dragon. I've handled plenty of Vikings before, and maybe the other dragons is like, girl, you don't want to mess with that Viking. That Viking is the king of Vikings, and he's the king of Vikings for a reason. And the Ten of Wands dragon is like, a Viking is still a man, and I'm a dragon. I got this. Not even a second later, and it's over. The dragon's like, whoa, in the afterlife. How did I get here? Anyway, um, oh, it's two cards. I didn't even catch that. But yeah, that's why it's like a word to the wise, because the wise will hear that and go, oh, okay. Like considering who I'm hearing this from, the circumstances, and if I take a look at this If I take my own ego out the picture and I look at this, maybe, you know what? I'm going to keep it moving. Word to the wise. Yeah, it is word to the wise. Idiom used to say that one is about to give someone advice or a warning. A word to the wise: never sign a contract without reading it first. It means a word to the intelligent people that will be a word to intelligent people will be sufficient. Or I'll say one word and you will be wise enough to know exactly what I'm talking about. The origin is thought to be from Roman writers, and in Latin, it is verbum sapienti satis est. In English, it dates back to the 1500s. So, yeah, that's why it's a word to the wise. Because at first I was like, shouldn't it be like a word from the wise? But again, it's like because the wise will hear the wisdom in it, and the unwise will ignore it, I guess. I don't know. The unwise will find out. I remember again, like growing up, my mom was like, I really hope that you're not the type of person that has to experience something to know. I really hope your big old ears. She ain't say this, but she was like, I really hope that you can learn to like listen and take from the wisdom of others without doing whatever anyway and making your life harder for yourself. Eventually, I learned to. Eventually, it sunk in. Eventually, I grew up a little bit. I matured. I got a little bit of anti emotional regulation, which was anti-emotional regulation, I guess I should say. Instead of emotional regulation, I got some anti-emotional regulation that I had to, like do some work to heal from later, but it kept me from going down certain paths. So I can recognize the value of it when I got it. But the reason why I'm saying all that is because I see the axe and the head of the zombie, and I'm like, oh, because again, it was the king of swords that pierced the dragon, right? And so maybe this is someone like, oh, if I take an axe, one clean blow to the head, and this zombie will be taken care of. Uh, no, because again, but that was like the thing. It's about logic. It was the degree of logic and integrity, right? So, like, let's say that on the surface, something might look like something else, but it's actually deeper. And maybe it's because we're not fully present, or maybe we underestimate whatever we're facing or whatever we're going through. It ends up being a much bigger, much grander beast than we thought it would be. And we end up in the position that we thought the dragon would end up in. Like that was the fool. That's the fool that maybe thought they were heeding the word to the wise, but a word to the wise wouldn't get someone in this situation. Because it's a zombie and zombies live in cemeteries. Again, maybe that goes back to that Jack and the Beanstalk. In the story Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack was ultimately the victor, I guess, because the giant died and he got to keep whatever he kept, I think. But it's like in real life, Jacks don't win. So, maybe we can think that we're taking shortcuts, and we can think that we're being really clever. And, I found the bean that will grow the beanstalk that'll take me to the land of the giants. When you get to the land of the giants, be prepared to live as a giant does. Because everything in the land of giants is giant. And so it requires that much more strength. It requires that much more stamina. It requires that much more endurance. And to a giant, a lot of that stuff can be easy and effortless. But whenever we force ourselves into spaces before we're ready, claiming knowledge as wisdom, we're not prepared to face and handle the dragons that just exist in that space. At that point, they don't even necessarily have to be guardians. It's just like when you're a giant living in the land of the giants, you live among dragons, because dragons are like giant lizards or giant snakes or whatever, and you live among Cerberuses because Cerberuses are giant dogs. Like how you got fish and dogs and all kinds of creatures down there. Like there's a giant version, but the giant versions look like monstrosities from tiny human world, whatever. But in reality, girl, they're just like up there minding their business. Like a bird comes. Look, there's a bird right there. Like that bird that you can't see minding its business on the porch. Like it's just there. Can you see it? It's like in between. Where's my finger? I don't know. It's like in between these slats. Anyway. Anyway. But yeah, for some reason the cemetery was giving me like a sacred space. And the zombie is like someone who will arise from the grave to like defend the cemetery. Like the dragon that was just like in the clearing, if it's not a guardian. And then again, like this is us. This can be us. Sometimes those experiences are put in our paths to teach us lessons. And we learn from it and we grow from it. And we don't have to overly whatever ourselves for it. Right? The two cards that came out face down, we have Justice, the Valkyrie, and the Five of Pentacles, the Shaman. Now, this is interesting because the Valkyrie is looking at the Shaman. There's Justice. Also, the Valkyrie is the one that, it takes the warriors, the worthy warriors who fight valiantly and puts them in Valhalla. It rewards them in their afterlife or whatever, so they can fight again for Odin. But anyway. And the Shaman is interesting because there was an energy, this energy of like what isn't necessarily sustained by the universe, but must be self sustained. There was something that the mystic understood, but the shaman didn't because the shaman is too. And maybe that's why the zombie is down at the bottom of the deck, too. It's because the shaman was too well versed in the goings on in the ordering of the natural world that something supernatural, like it doesn't compute. And so the shaman may not necessarily find as much clarity as it would if it had come in a more natural way. That's why, like, the shaman and the sustainer were in reverse, but the mystic was upright. And it's not bad. But it's like, again, with the Nine of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles, with the Queen of Swords in reverse energy, we learn through experiences. And if we're privileged and fortunate and blessed enough to learn from the experiences of others, then we learn from the experience of others. But how can we know anything that we don't know? And how can we learn anything that we're necessarily taught? How can we imagine things that we haven't experienced? And the shaman is like turning away from the fire and the dancing and the music to look towards this Valkyrie. But again, it's something about it's the energy of that archmage, the King of Swords, in his challenge. If we're found to have exceptional logic and integrity, it's not exceptional intelligence, it's not exceptional wisdom. If we're found to have exceptional logic, which is like thinking, reasoning, you don't have to know, but to work through a problem, if we're found to work through it in an exceptional way and be also integrity, Valkyrie, okay, we're found to have an exceptional integrity, then we're granted the tome of clear thought. And it has the power to push our intelligence into the superhuman range. It can increase someone's max intelligence by 2. The hard cap is 20. You can end up with 22 out of 20. Again, the natural path to the land of the giants, that's not a beanstalk. It's just like it's a deeper understanding, a deeper relationship, a higher knowing. It's it's whatever that is. But it's in recognition of what we're already capable of, what we show ourselves to be capable of, how we move and operate in the world, not what we think up here or in here, but we don't show or communicate outside, you know? So, anyway, there we go. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey and what you find, I hope that you keep well and safe and not hungry, and you enjoy your experience for the most part, unless you enjoying your experience looks weird or negatively harms and impacts others in ways, you know what I mean, that goes beyond whatever, because some people like to, I don't, anyway, it doesn't matter. Justice came out. May we all get what we deserve. Karmic rewards. And the dragon did come out first. It is the year of the dragon, the rare gazelle. She said, she posted it up on her Instagram. It's gonna be the year of karma. Y'all watch. And even when the dragon came out, and what is this year of the dragon? I need to watch that again. But I feel like it was a lot of that. And now we're seeing it. We're seeing things come out, giants fall. I feel like it's been a lot of falling of giants and truths coming out. I'm just personally ready for the rise of the new, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's a lot of things falling apart or leaving or whatever, but where's the new stuff? So that's what I'm like, you know. Where's the next big thing? Where's the next leap in I don't know. Anyway, I'll catch y'all later. Bye.